So again, wow, here's a little more information on the songbird of the Hanoi Hilton, Jonny Wetstart. Representative Dornan, they made those transcriptions, and in the transcriptions I heard a POW who heard them coming into a cell and said, quote, "Oh my God, is that Admiral McCain's son? Is that the Admiral's son? Is that Johnny telling us that our principal targets are schools, orphanages, hospitals, temples, churches?" End of quote. That was Jane Fonda's line. Where are those transcriptions? Believe me, they're in the archives of the museum, the Bragging Military Phony Museum in Hanoi. McCain could not have wanted those to turn up in the middle of a presidential race. He knows that. I know that. And a few other people know that. And that is why he went against Bob Dole's legislation. Dumbass. And he didn't want anybody looking into his background in that camp. What went on in that camp? The stuff is still classified, so nobody can see it. And he just had it classified forever, so nobody will ever look at it. Lucifer. That he was given special treatment and was out in a room with two other defectors who were later given special treatment. Although, I will say to his credit, he refused to be repatriated as a result. Representative Dornan. This sounds so good at first. McCain was offered a chance to come home. They called him, quote, the prince, end of quote, and he could have. But nobody ever takes that one step beyond that. If Admiral John McCain II Jr., if his son, a lieutenant senior grade, had accepted this priestly status and come home in 1967, while the others would sit there for 5 years, what would the Navy have done with the son of an admiral who opted to get special treatment and come home? No Navy career. No House seat, no Senate seat. It would have been the end of his career. And they were offering him his chance to go home in one of 3 groups that came home in '68, Santelli. They were all collaborators, Representative Dorman, and McCain called them this, except for Bill Cagill, the slipperies and slimies and the sleazies. I once forgot one of those names, and he refreshed my memory. The slipperies, the slimies, and the sleazies. So that meant he would have become a slimy, a sleazy, and a slippery, ruining his career, and the admiral's son goes home. What I'm saying is, yes, he chose to stay, but he did have an alternative if he ever wanted to have a life, and that would have been to done what would that have done to his father, Douglas. And his activities were sufficiently consistent with widespread in opposing efforts to learn the truth that he was written up in a number of articles as a Manchurian candidate in this issue. Representative Dorman. In Hanoi, he saw McCain turn red in the face. He even used the term Rumpelstiltskin, jumping up and down in place in a rage. Quote, "If you release any of these records that you have here in Hanoi on me, or on other POWs, you will never get diplomatic recognition," end of quote. USRY. McCain may have been an expert on being a prisoner of war, but he was by no means an expert on the prisoner of war issues. How war hero John McCain betrayed the Vietnamese peasant who saved his life. Daily Mail, UK 3/23/08. Top Cop says McCain was never tortured. Prison Planet 2708. McLam said the POW told him that McCain had sustained 2 broken arms and a leg injury from not pulling his arms in when he bailed out of his A4 Skyhawk that was shot down over Truck Buck Lake in Hanoi. The POW said that McCain made 32 propaganda videos for the communist North Vietnamese in which he denounced America for what they were doing in Vietnam, end of quote. Several Vietnamese veterans groups do solely exist to expose McCain's abandonment of veterans' interest, as well as his lies about being tortured, including Vietnam Veterans Against John McCain and U.S. Veteran Dispatch. In fact, McCain's own account confirms he broke his own arms while ejecting from his plane. Once again, everything that's written here is exactly what I've said in my 100 or so videos on the lame brain Johnny McCain, the songbird of the Hanoi Hilton. Folks, he needs to know, we know. I want to thank my viewer, and if he sends me additional tidbits, when I can, they'll be posted on YouTube. Thanks for listening.